Hi there, it's Alan here from Loud Clear Glasgow. I'm delighted to be here with Frank Murray from Linn Products, who was the lead design engineer on this fabulous new LP12-50. What I'd like to really do is get a bit of an introduction to the deck from you, Frank. What's the background? Why is it called the LP12-50?
So the LP12-50 is the anniversary product for the Sondek LP12, 50 years since it was first released. The sort of background to this project and this product is from Gilad, our managing director, and Sir Jony Ive connected because of Jony's admiration for our company, the way we do things, the product, and ultimately his new company called LoveFrom is a venture that he has established to collaborate with companies that share similar values and create collaborative products, and that's basically the start of this new thing.
So there's been talk of the LP12-50 being more of a kind of evolution rather than a kind of revolution. So obviously we're all quite familiar with the classic Sondek LP12. What are the key kind of design differences going from the reference level deck to the LP12-50? So
first of all, when Jony started working with us, he wanted to be very sympathetic to the original design. Sure. It's a anniversary at the end of the day. We want to celebrate where it started as well as look forward and create new features and new components. So looking at the new one in relation to the old one, they are similar, and you can see where it draws from the original. Yeah. But it's an inspiration with a new twist and new takes from Jony, but sensitive. In saying that, although it's still a Sondek LP12 at the end of the day, almost every single component on it, except for like the tone arm and the platter, are brand new. So we have a new plinth, new top plate shape, we've got new button, new hinges, new keel, new baseboard. Everything's been looked at, every detail, to try and adjust it with Jony's eye and what he sees, and how he could be respectful to Linn while still bringing something new with this collaboration.
Sure, sure. So from an engineering point of view, arguably the LP12 is one of the finest decks in the world. How do you go about making the best better?
So, I mean, there's a few things. Jony really wanted to focus on things that he's got a lot of experience in, so aesthetics tweaks, but also interactions and contact. So his experience at Apple comes through there. So the big things that we looked at were the new switch. So that's something that's totally brand new for the LP12-50, and the new hinges, both which areas are that he noticed from his own LP12 that he thought he could improve on. And then the big area that we at Linn contributed, and we think we've brought a lot of performance as well as aesthetics, is the new plinth, the bedrock plinth. So a bit more specific, so we can go into them. We're looking at a new switch with a new actual switch underneath in terms of the electronics, and a new feel. And then the hinges are moving away from a sprung technology to a friction hinge, which is something that I think a lot of people have been looking for. And then the plinth is a brand new material, machined from one solid block of...
So we've got older style LP12 behind you. So that's something that we're all kind of familiar with.
Yeah.
So what material is this made from?
So they can be made in a lot of different materials. We have oak and rosewood and walnut and all these sorts of different woods that we use for the standard LP12 plinth. What we're looking at here is it's a brand new material for us. It's a plywood made out of beech, which is compressed under extreme heat and temperature to create this very, very dense, very, very heavy plinth that has got incredible vibration absorption properties. That, coupled with the fact that we can machine from solid, means that we've improved the structural properties and structural rigidity of the plinth as well. So we don't have braces glued in or screwed in or whatever anymore. It's just one solid piece, everything machined for one thing, which again helps with structure. And so the whole thing is more secure for mounting components to, as well as from a performance perspective.
And then what's the theory behind the sonic benefits of that?
We did some research ourselves, and also looking at background research with this material. It's all about vibration absorption. That's the primary thing that we look at from this. So we want to eliminate noise, eliminate distortion in hi-fi, and what we found is that this plinth is very good at absorbing unnecessary, unwanted vibration that might impact ultimately what's going on in the cartridge, what's going on through the tone arm. And I think it's like a sink for vibration in terms of we want to get everything to the plinth, and then that will absorb it, and so it's not then reflecting or causing any other disturbances.
You've always got a very delicate interface, I guess, between the needle and the groove effect.
Absolutely. I mean,
and any vibration at that point is going to cause distortion.
100%.
And I guess in most hi-fi systems you've got a dirty pair of loudspeakers.
Yeah, I mean,
generating loads of vibration.
It's probably one of the biggest engineering challenges in hi-fi is how you deal with vibration. It's, you know, whether it's microphonics in an electrical system in terms of looking at components vibrating, or impacting the physical system of a stylus and a groove. You know, we want to eliminate that as much as possible to get as much detail from the actual record through, rather than any external disturbances or whatever.
Yeah. So presumably this is now a much higher mass plinth than the historical wooden ones. Is that a benefit? Is that a drawback? Is that something you had to deal with?
Definitely. So it's a secondary thing probably to the vibration absorption of the actual material itself. But what we researched and what we found is that by increasing the mass of the plinth, there was always this feeling from us at Linn and out in retailers in the world that a slightly heavier plinth or a denser plinth performed better. So like even that was like oak compared to like the whiskey wood oak, slightly denser. There was supposedly a benefit there. So I wanted to try and understand why that was and look at that. And one of the things that I found was by increasing the mass of the plinth, you effectively move the center of mass more centrally, because the platter at the moment is obviously off-centered, which means that the center of mass is towards the back left of the product. By making that a lesser component of the full system, you move the center of mass slightly more towards the middle, which then allows the trampoline feet to be more optimally loaded and the whole system to be more balanced, which is a sort of secondary benefit of this new plinth and this new material.
Okay. So it's both about, really ultimately about vibration,
yes,
but it's also about letting the whole of the replay system perform together.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, and just be a better balance.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That's how I'd summarise it. The material is the big draw on why we came there in the first place. Okay. And then we sort of, as we built turntables and experimented with more and tested, you know, experimenting with adding weight and removing weight, that's where we started realising the other additional properties of the system.
So was there any other knock-on engineering issues from having a higher mass? Have you changed the trampoline?
No, the trampoline is as it is. It's obviously a slightly different loading on those feet and the sort of suspension there, but this trampoline is the same. We did some checks in terms of the elastic properties of that rubber, and it still performs as expected. The only difference is that you'll have to adjust the height slightly to make sure that it's sitting level, because it's a different mass, but everything on the trampoline at the moment is the same, apart from the shape. Obviously, if you could flip it up, you'll see that there are design details in there that are different, but the actual technology is the same.
Okay. Knock-on effect then on the sub-chassis. So this has now got its own keel.
Yep.
So similar to the existing Climax LP12, so machined from a single billet of aluminium?
So the main sub-chassis is machined from a single billet. What we have done is we've got a separate collar now. This is something that we do on other sub-chassis, but what this allowed us to do was it allowed us to fly cut that main face of the arm board and allow us to anodize it in a way that is, you know, iconic in terms of what Jony Ive does and what he contributes, compared to the traditional style. That was a production and manufacturing led change, which was also contributed from a design intention. But it's still a solid piece. The performance is still as you'd expect from a keel, and we've validated that that the big benefit is from having that one-piece sub-chassis and arm board. That's the big benefit from the keel.
Okay. Any other engineering, any other major engineering differences between existing and?
Well, so I mean, like, things that come to mind are the switch is now mounted to the plinth rather than press fit into the top plate.
Okay.
That comes around from wanting to create this new switch which would be flush and concentric with the top plate. In order to achieve that, we need to have a more solid platform to mount to, so that's another totally different element in comparison to the existing LP12. Other things, I mean, it's just about fit and it's about detail. That's one of the things. I mean, the top plate here is got a 0.1 to 0.15 millimeter gap all the way around, and that's specific and that's detailed, and the tolerances have gone up. You know, we go from a plinth which is made from 4 separate pieces brought together to one solid piece. Your tolerances go from, you know, in some instances you go from, you know, almost a millimeter potential tolerance to plus or minus 0.1. You know, you're reducing the tolerance by 5 times, if not 10 times in a lot of instances. So the fit of a lot of components was more optimal and allowed us to achieve the sleek aesthetic that we were looking for.
Okay, okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that.
No worries at all.